Off you go.
So this is our documentary pitch for teenage suicide in the UK. We've got a short video about the story behind it.
Suicide is the second most leading cause of death among teenagers. Every 40 seconds, a teen dies due to suicide. From 1980s, the rate of teen suicide has tripled. But have you wondered why this happens? Why do these young people have suicidal thoughts? It's because they feel it's the only way to escape the problems. The problems can be like death of someone close, bullying, home violence, love failure, academic problems, loneliness, or even worse.
So that was just a short video just to show you some of the problems that can cause teenage suicide.
Our documentary is on teenage suicide in the UK, and it will be a reflective documentary. It will be a reflective documentary as it will be a presenter-led throughout the film, with the presenters both on screen and the voice of God. Also, the presenter will be actively interacting with the subject through interviews with people that are directly affected by teenage suicide, and also by questioning the public in order to get their views and thoughts on teenage suicide and its effects. The presenter will also directly give information such as statistics and help services directly to the viewer.
Teenage suicide is a topic that many find uncomfortable to talk about as it's so sensitive, but we need to shine some light on it. Suicide affects nearly everyone, whether it's a personal relation like someone in their family or their friends, or someone unknown, for example someone in their class at school. But it just doesn't get noticed or spoken of until the inevitable happens. In our survey, 100% of people knew someone that had either tried or thought about harming themselves and even take their own lives.
So to talk you through some of the key statistics of our infographic, every 40 seconds someone somewhere does unfortunately take their own life. And in 2015, 231 people aged 10 to 19 in the UK took their own lives, unfortunately. Our primary research also found that 3 in 8 people wouldn't actually want to discuss any negative thoughts that they had towards themselves. And that's something we really want to talk about in our documentary, to show that there are so many different services that you can talk to, and you shouldn't have to suffer alone. Another leading cause in it is mental health problems, such as depression, which most people seem to think is just feeling down. But clinical depression is a persistent feeling of sadness for weeks and months. And another cause is psychosis, which is when you perceive and interpret things differently, which can lead to delusions and hallucinations, which can unfortunately lead people to take their own lives.
We will be looking at interviewing 3 different individuals where suicide has affected them personally, and that will be hopefully the individual themselves, obviously someone who's attempted suicide, a friend of the individual and a family member. And then we'd also like to look at the work the charities are doing. Our chosen charity was Samaritans, and we're currently in contact with them. Their Reading branch is there's the address. And we'll be looking at interviewing 3 different individuals, such as the volunteer, the supporter and the trustee.
So we could meet the demand for the documentary. We've written down some of the key demands for it. This is so we can see the documentary from all sides and be quite neutral in it. But these are the demands and how there is a demand for it, so we can adapt the movie to suit it.
Okay. So, how come you guys decided to choose this topic? What was it? Because obviously you were trying to decide between a couple of different ones. How come you chose this one in the end?
So basically, one of the main reasons was because, like I mentioned, we feel like we have a responsibility to shine light on the subject. We feel like it's sort of unspoken of, and it's a bit of a subject that you know, people tend to get quite uncomfortable about talking about it, but we feel like it should be something that we can discuss, because it makes people who are struggling feel like they can talk to anyone and everyone and feel more accepted, and it can just help with to help to get the rates down and help people to feel more comfortable.
Okay, so so you had your infographic with a lot of different stats on there. How did you go about gathering the information for it?
We did both primary and secondary research. For primary research, we sent out a survey to people, just getting general information such as ages, and also whether they knew people that had or attempted to either harm themselves or take their own lives, and other bits of information like that. And then with secondary research, we looked at things like newspaper articles, and news reports mainly, just to try and find out some more statistics really as well based on it. And another great source for us was the charity sites, especially Samaritans. They have lots of great statistics on their websites.
Okay, so you're looking to interview someone that's maybe attempted suicide, someone that's been a family member, and then a charity. How, obviously it's quite a sort of serious topic, how did you go about approaching someone that's maybe attempted suicide to ask them if you could interview them?
Well, we actually read through some of the media guidelines which were put out by charities like Papyrus and Samaritans, which sort of guide you through how you would approach these individuals, so the things to say and the things not to say. And they were also talking about how it's important not to portray suicide as like glamorized or romanticized, because that can actually encourage people to follow in their footsteps. And we're very careful of how we word the interview questions, and also we're not very forceful with the way we ask them. If they don't want to answer any of the questions, then obviously that's totally fine.
Okay. There's quite a lot of rules around reporting suicides, so in terms of like newsworthiness, about what you can and can't say. How are you going to ensure that you guys don't break any of these rules?
I think we'll just try to constantly have a list of rules with us, because there are quite a few. But then as well, we'll have to reshoot stuff. But it's mainly in the way as well that we phrase our questions. So for example, you can say that someone has taken their own life, but you shouldn't say how, because it can lead to copycats. So yeah, it's all kind of in the way that we phrase our interviews.
And is yours, did you say it was going to be presenter-led, or is it going to be sort of voiceover? So is the presenter going to be, are you going to follow the presenter as they interview different people, or is it going to be someone who starts off presenting it and then you have just people getting interviewed, or is the presenter involved in the interview as well?
In regards to interviewing people, it's obviously a very sensitive subject, so we're going to try and set them up as sort of like an anonymous interview and maybe create a reconstruction. So we probably have the presenter introduce the individual, and then let the individual talk about their experience in sort of an anonymous fashion.
Okay, and the last bit was, I know you guys have been in touch with an American charity as well.
Yeah.
How are you going to ensure that that remains relevant to a UK audience?
I think we would talk about the unfortunate boy himself, which was a lad called JJ who committed suicide when he was 12, and sort of use that as a way to raise awareness. They've also got these cards called sort of "Can You Hear Me" cards, which I thought would be a great thing to introduce. So we could also talk about the ways that their foundation is helping people in the UK and America, because they have stretched their work as far as the UK.
Okay, that's great.